Hey guys, welcome to Brutes Magoots, where today we are going to be taking this hot rodded Charvel that I have, and we are going to be installing this lock and roll compensated locking nut and seeing if what they say is true. Now, compensated nuts have been around for, as far as I know, about 20 years or so. Like Ernie Ball has them, and then there's other companies too. They actually sell them with guitars at this point. And the idea with a compensated nut is that it moves the fulcrum or takeoff point a little bit further distance on the higher strings, supposedly allowing for better intonation. I'm not really sure if that is correct or not. I've played on them before. I didn't really notice too much of a difference. But today we are going to see if that's true or not. This is a R3 Floyd nut stock. So I have the V3 version of this, or this is the V2 version, but this is the R3 locking nut, so replacement for an R3 Floyd. And it is at a 12-inch diameter, and same thing with the R3 from Floyd. This neck is a compound radius, so we go from 12 to 16, and we're just going to see if it works or not. We'll see a difference, maybe. I have no idea. What I will do is, before I replace anything, I will take a video of the tuner as far as the first 5 frets, and we'll get readings on all of that stuff, and then I will do the same thing afterwards, after we install the lock and roll nut, and see if there's a difference or not, if my intonation is better or worse or the same. I'm not really sure. You're never going to get perfect intonation with frets like this. It's just not going to happen. You're going to be off no matter where you are, unless you have like a true temperament fretboard. Otherwise, you're going to be off. The best thing you can do is just try to be as accurate in general as you can. There's 2 ways of intonating a guitar. I do it kind of like the way that's not really used too much. Most people, the number one way that I know of, is that people will tune their 12th fret harmonic and fretted note with the open and call that good. But if you do that, you will find as you move up, if you hit all the frets, you will find that they're usually off. And so what I do is I don't read at the 12th only. I take readings all the way up. And if in general my notes are slightly flat or slightly sharp, then I adjust the saddle to adjust for that. And so I get a better general intonation across the whole entire fretboard, instead of just focusing solely at the 12th fret. So let's just see how this goes, and who knows. So we're going to move into the studio where I'll show you a closer look at the lock and roll nut, and I'll do maybe a time-lapse video of replacing things, and then we'll come back and do a tuning. You guys can figure out for yourselves if this is worth it or not. Again, I don't do any monetization on my videos. I pay for all this stuff myself. So these are all honest reviews, and it's just straightforward results. So you guys can make the determination for yourself if this is worth it or not. Lock and roll nut, it goes for like 120 bucks, which is kind of expensive. But it does have some titanium screws with it now, which is good. So let's just get to it and see how it goes. All right, guys, so first up, let's just look at what they include in the package, which they give you the nut, obviously, an Allen, which is nice, and your 2 different screw types, depending on what kind of style neck you have, and some star washers. And they even include a little string mute, which is a nice little inclusion. I like that. So they give you pretty much everything you need. Here is a look at the nut itself. These are titanium screws. I have titanium screws, but they're gold on my standard Floyd nut, so I'm probably going to put those on here. I assume that they are the same size. They look like it. So you can see the smooth design here, which I like. I like that these aren't going to shift so much when you lock them down. I feel like that's a design flaw on the Floyd. When you tighten down, like those clamps can shift and actually pull the strings like sharp or flat. So that's always kind of been a pet peeve of mine. I also like that this is kind of smoother and rounder. So when you're fretting and you have your hand down here at the first fret, it seems like it has less chance of kind of catching on your pointer finger, which I have that problem often. When I'm playing aggressively. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at the inside here. And while we do that, we'll read their claims. It says that patent pending design places each string to an individual fulcrum location to achieve improved tuning and adds even more tension across the fretboard by creating less sharp and flat notes. Now, that claim, I don't know how dialed in their improved tuning is. I don't know if they just copied what Ernie Ball does or whatever, or if they actually spent time developing this. I feel like it also would change depending on whether you have what scale length you have on your neck. So that is also a question too. I don't know how they research that, if it's a 24 and 3/4 or if it's 25 and a half or whatever. All that makes a difference on the takeoff points. We can see here the changes that they have here, and this is the low B or low E and then high E. I went to 7-string mode there for a second, and we can see the takeoff points, how they're adjusted throughout here. They're back farther on the E's, and that's kind of a good shot right there. You can kind of see it. So there seems to be a bit of adjustment across here. I will tell you that I went ahead before I started into this. I just did the tuning for my stock setup, and it's really not off. It's off, up through the first, 5 frets, maybe like a cent or two at most, if not dead on. So, I mean, it's not going to change by much. If you have a good intonation job, I don't think you're going to be too far off. But who knows? I don't know yet what this is going to yield. I will say though that I am going to leave the stock strings on the guitar to be as apples to apples as possible. Leave the stock strings since it's a Floyd. I'm going to try to go full slack on the strings and just pull them all up and then replace this nut underneath there. I have some stock Floyd shims. I may need to shim this up. One of their claims is that what did they say? The radius that assists, it has a radius that assists in low action and overall killer feel on the fretboard. Now, that's not anything to their credit. It's a 12-inch radius. That's what your guitar would come with if you're going to use this nut. So, I mean, obviously, if you're going to have a smaller radius, a shorter radius like a 12-inch versus a 16, making chords, on first 5 frets are going to be easier than if you have like a 16-inch radius. So that has nothing to do with what they've done. That's just the radius of the guitar. It says it has rounded edges for less string breakage and internal string guides that accommodates gauges from 7 to 58, which is really cool. I like that wide spectrum. I don't know who would run a 7 E string. I feel like if you plug it one time, it would just snap, but who knows? I like that they have that spread on there. Definitely a 58 for the low E. I mean, that allows you to pretty much do 7-string tuning on a 6-string. So anyway, let's just dive into this and see how it goes. See if this is snake oil or not. It says it's made out of state-of-the-art metal materials. Well, that doesn't help me out. What kind of steel is this? And how is it hardened? That's what I want to know. Saying state-of-the-art doesn't mean anything to me unless you're calling out exactly what this is made out of and how it's hardened. But anyway, let's dive in. I will start to do the time-lapse video now. All right, guys, so here it is, all installed, and I think it looks pretty good. It does look clean, and again, I do like the idea that, you know, it's not so sharp around here. I still need to tighten these guys down, but overall, it does look cleaner, I feel like, and I'm going to go ahead and intonate it now and see how it does and see how it fares. I will say that speaking to that, come over here and look at these saddles. Now this is like a fully upgraded Floyd 1984 bridge. I have titanium saddles and screws and a big like fat ass 42 millimeter block Tremel nose system. So it's fully upgraded. But I wanted to tell you guys that a lot of people, they have like these deals that you hook on here and it holds it in place while you adjust a screw. As far as setting the saddles for intonation, I don't mess with that. I find it's easiest if you have something like the, you know, Tremel or whatever, so you're able to do Floyd full movement on your Floyd. What I do is I go full down and just kind of hold it with this hand while I take my Allen and I adjust that and I move it back and forth, because when you go full slack, these things are able to move a whole lot easier and the string is able to get out of your way. One design I hate about the Floyds is that goes right over top of your adjustment screw. You really only need to mess with it every now and again, but still, it's still a pain in the butt. There's some Ibanez bridges that do this a lot better, but anyway, I still love Floyds over the edges. But it's all personal preference, and definitely over Kahlers. But again, there's Kahler fans out there that love it. I'm not knocking them at all. So anyway, I digress. But anyway, I don't know how you guys do it, but that's how I do it. I just go full slack and move the string out of my way, get the Allen in there, and then I pull it back or push it forward, tighten it down, and then put the slack back, tension up the strings, and then check it, and then keep on doing that until I'm satisfied. But, I mean, yeah, overall, it does look pretty freaking good on there. I had to do 0.8 millimeters of shimming across here to get it up to the height. So this is a very, very low nut, which can be, I think, is probably a better thing than a bad thing. Only because if you have it too high, then you're going to have to mill it down or something like that. This allows for it being retrofitted to many different types of necks, which is nice, but do be prepared to have to get some shim stock. I just get the Floyd shim stock. It's super cheap. It's like $3 a shim or something like that from Sweetwater or whatever. But anyway, so that's what I use. But it took me on this neck, and this is a Charvel Henrik neck. I ended up having to do, again, 0.8 millimeters of shimming to get it up to the height where it was. So anyway, I'll get all intonated up next. And then one last thing, before I do intonation, I wanted to show you guys just how it sits. How strings sit on there, which I do like. I like the channels on here, so everything looks clean. You better see like the different lengths, takeoff points or fulcrum points. And then also realized that my shim stock had shifted when I had tightened this down, so like I kicked that back in. But anyway, there's a good shot of that. All right, guys, so now that you have seen the results, snake oil or not, I don't know. To me, it's just snake oil, honestly. There's not a whole lot of difference in results. I will say that they say when you replace the nut to not re-intonate it, just go with it. And when I installed the nut and checked my intonation, it was off. Some strings were off by like 6, maybe even 7 cents in some areas. If you guys get this, I would definitely, absolutely recheck your intonation and adjust accordingly, because at least on this guitar, 25.5 scale length, Charvel Henrik, I had to re-intonate it, and it was a pain in the butt. It was just extremely labor intensive to get it as close as I could. I had a much easier time with the OG nut. I don't know if this really makes sense a lot. I will say that I do like the ergonomics of it. It feels good, especially when you're over here or whatever. I tend to play with my fingers at an angle. I don't really do that so much. I do a lot of that. So, my pointer finger like digs into this corner often, especially again, if I'm playing fast, I'm shifting quickly down the fretboard. So I do like that. I do like the looks of it. It does look better. Does it have a practical purpose? Not really. Again, it's And the whole thing about this whole, doing compensated nuts, or if you have like the True Temperament frets or something like that, yeah, that's great. But you're going to be out of tune if you play with another guitarist that has standard stuff, which I never understood. To me, if you're in a band and you have multiple guitars or whatever, or you're recording and you have multiple guitars, it makes sense to just have the same setup between everyone, because if somebody's playing on True Temperament and they have perfect intonation on every single note, and you're playing the standard fretboard, you're going to be off a few cents no matter what, and that's going to pick up. It almost makes sense to just have both guitars the same, so that they're off in the same general areas. So that's my thought on that. If you're recording studio or whatever, you're using True Temperament, then you have to stick with that. Or if you're doing standard frets, you have to stick with that. And compensated nuts. Hey, look, if you want to spend the money on it, that's fine. I did. I don't necessarily regret it, but I don't see a benefit. I just don't. The proof is in the pudding. You guys saw the results of the intonation, and it's just basically the same. I can't get anywhere closer than still being off in areas of about 2 cents and occasionally 3 cents. But that's as best as I can do. And again, you can compensate here, but all this stuff is straight and lined up. So, I just don't get it. They talk about the added tension and stuff. I don't feel it so much. So yeah, it is what it is. I would say, it's a bust overall. You're not going to see a huge difference. You're not going to notice anything major with it. And it's kind of a pain in the butt, honestly, to get installed and set up, at least as far as my situation goes. Maybe it's different on a different guitar, but this thing was a pain in the ass, honestly. So anyway, I guess that's all I have to say about this. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Maybe I'm off on something. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know in the comments. And until next time, I will see you guys later.